something proper like. I like the bartender.
What is good, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new edition of L Boogie and the Bell. I'm the Bell, of course, Hill with the greatest L Boogie. L Boogie, how we doing today?
Hey man, it's been a hell of a weekend. We had some crazy semifinal games in the college football playoff, and we got the first round of the NFL playoffs mega wild card weekend going on right now. So it's been good. It's been good to tune in, and I'm ready to go.
I'm also a UFC bro, so it's good to see that the UFC's back in the new year. So shout out to the UFC. Probably won't get into them at all today, but shout out to the UFC. L Boogie. We're just gonna get right busy, baby. We're gonna get right to it. We're gonna get right busy with this NFL wild card weekend. El Boogie, the very first game to kick us off was yesterday. We had the Chargers versus the Texans. El Boogie, how do we feel about the Texans beating the Chargers 32-12?
You know, my concerns with the Texans, which are primarily focused on the offense and CJ Stroud, they're still there.
Still,
Like that game did not, make me think, oh, CJ Stroud is back to year one CJ Stroud, or that offense is any resemblance of what it looked like the first couple weeks of the season. That offense was pretty stagnant throughout the game. Their defense, though, came to play. They got 4 picks out of Justin Herbert, had him under constant pressure. The defense won that game for them for sure. So that's a positive for the Texans. Your defense is legit.
let's keep it a band. The coach did not. So they kept panning to the coach in the first quarter, and a little bit. I think they scored pretty quick in the second quarter. It's D'Amico Ryan, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. They were panning to him in the first quarter, and he looked a little concerned. He looked a little, okay, it's 6-0. Chargers are driving with ease, but our red zone defense stopping them. Bro, as soon as they got kicking in that second quarter, they're panning to the D'Amico Ryan, and he's lit. That boy was on fire. He was like, nah, I got the best team tonight. When that transition happened, they carried that over into the third quarter. So I do think that they went based off of the strength of Houston. I think this game was like the strength of Houston. It just felt like a good vibe for Houston after the first quarter. That first quarter was like every single question mark of their offense was still there. I think one explosive play from Joe Mixon in that second quarter changed the whole dynamic of the game. Shout out to Joe Mixon. 25 carries, 106 yards, 1 touchdown. Fire game. I didn't watch this game all the way through, but what I did do was watch parts of this game, and at any point, Joe Mixon was literally the biggest factor on the field. When they were on offense, he was the factor. El Boogie, let's talk about it. CJ Stroud, 22 of 33, 282, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That doesn't look bad, but it doesn't look as good as it did in the first 3 quarters compared to the finishing off at the end of the game. How do you feel about CJ Stroud? You just kind of explained it a little bit, but based off of the stats, like stats versus what you see in his confidence as his play.
The stats are deceiving, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, yards, fine. Completion percentage, fine. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. On paper, it doesn't look like he had a terrible game. And to be honest, he did not have a terrible game. Justin Herbert was the worst. Justin Herbert was the worst quarterback on the field yesterday. But it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same magic. Like, he wasn't propelling that team forward like we had seen him do previously in his career. I think it definitely hurts losing Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell to season-ending injuries. So now you're really dependent on Nico Collins to be your number 1 wide receiving threat without a credible 2 or 3 option. But you do have Joe Mixon, who balled out, like you said. So you have a run game. The O-line wasn't great yesterday, I will admit, and throughout the season, their O-line has been shaky. But CJ Stroud, it's a lot of questionable decisions. Like, I see him making mistakes that I thought he would have made as a rookie, not as a year 2 starter in the NFL who has some playoff experience. So kind of underwhelming.
And I did want to give the Texans first because they did end up with the win, so let's give them a little shine first. But I heard, real quick, Nico Collins, 7 receptions, 122 yards, Definitely had CJ Stroud looking better, a lot of yards after the catch. The Texan as a city did they thing. They was like I saw like a bunch of bars in Atlanta, and they were like they were playing. No, it was Atlanta, Detroit. It was a bunch of places, but it was like a compilation of how they were just playing Still Tempin' right after they won. It just felt like Houston came together as an entire city to win this football game, let alone the players on the field who put in the hard work, coaches and staff and everything. But now I heard a hell of a hot take, and I'm gonna introduce this hot take. Clip this. I'm gonna introduce this hot take this way. I heard a hell of a take, and I'm gonna say the stats first. Justin Herbert, 14 of 32, 242 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions, and another first round playoff exit. El Boogie, I think the take came from you. What was that take again?
I stand by this take, and I do have some numbers to help support it, but I stand by this take that Justin Herbert, to me, after we've seen him, he's been in the NFL for 5 years now. 5 years of him starting, we've seen him do it, and honestly, to me, he looks like the reincarnation of Phillip Rivers. And now, I'm not throwing shade at Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers wasn't a terrible quarterback. He played in the NFL for over a decade. He was very serviceable. He had good numbers a lot of years. But it's the same thing where he's a good quarterback talent who doesn't show up in the big moments, who has untimely turnovers. That was Phillip Rivers' downfall, and we literally see it. Justin Herbert, debatably biggest game of his career, if not second biggest game, and he throws 4. I'm only going to give him credit for, I'm only going to hold 3 against him because one was in garbage time when it doesn't really matter. But 3 picks when you're still in play to win the game, and this guy's making top of the market money. I would not be laying into him if he was like Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix, like a rookie quarterback, first time I would not be laying into him like this. But this is your second playoff game, your second playoff loss, and you throw 4 interceptions, and you're making $50+ million, buddy. $50+ million. That's why I just think he is a good quarterback, no doubt, good quarterback. But he reminds me a lot of Phillip Rivers. I even looked at the stats. So Justin Herbert's first 5 years, he's just completed year 5, versus Phillip Rivers' first 5 years as a starter. 135 touchdowns for Phillip Rivers, 137 for Justin Herbert. Pretty identical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Completion percentage. Phillip Rivers, 64%. Justin Herbert, 66%. Justin Herbert gets the slight nod. 19,500 yards for Phillip Rivers, 21,000 for Justin Herbert. Again, 1,500 yards is something, but it's not crazy different. And interceptions. Justin Herbert, 45 interceptions. Phillip Rivers, 57, sorry. So yes, Phillip Rivers was a little more turnover prone, but they're generating the same numbers. Give or take, 300 yards a season. They're generating the same stats, same touchdowns, same production, but they're not winning. They're not winning the big games. And unless Justin Herbert does it, he's Phillip Rivers 2.0.
Okay, so El Boogie actually texted me this, and it took me back so much because I was just thinking like, And I was like, instead of us texting back and forth or having a phone call about it, I'm like, let's save it just for the show. Here's what I like about that take. What I like about that take is we played football before. We did not make it to the NFL. For some reason, God did not bless us with the abilities and talents to make it to the NFL. Maybe it's a drive thing. Maybe we could have made it, but that wasn't our initial goal. Only so many people make it to college football and play for D1 University. Only so many people make it to D2, D3, NAIA, or even the people who try their luck at JUCO. Now, aside from those people, only so many people make it to the National Football League, El Boogie. And in the past 50, we're on Super Bowl 58 or 9, or what are we on?
59.
Okay. And we've only had 59 attempts at one team becoming Super Bowl champions. With that being said, let's take a step back from Super Bowls. Let's talk about playoff wins and deep playoff teams. Phillip Rivers did not have that opportunity for the duration of his career simply because there are other factors such as people who are going to make it. Oh, a little stumble. Are we all good? All right, cool. And I'm like, it sucks because when the moment you said that, I think to all the people who don't get the chance to bridge through. So you remember how like Ben Roethlisberger would always just kind of break through, but it'd be like at a random time. So they won that Super Bowl, and then they went to another one against Green Bay. You know, Aaron Rodgers got to break through. This generation of quarterbacks, you have people like what's his name? Joe Burrow. He broke through the Patrick Mahomes of the world. He broke through the Tom Brady's because I think Tom Brady was still in the AFC when they went. When you break through, you're good. Justin Herbert, Phillip Rivers, and probably a long list of quarterbacks who we always know to be good quarterbacks, in-season quarterbacks. It's very hard to break through to an actual Super Bowl. And I'm not even talking about a Super Bowl win, but just being a Super Bowl contention team. I feel bad because it's like everybody's not going to make it. You have an emerging Broncos team. You have a Raiders team that's in their rebuild. Justin Herbert with the Chargers, knowing that the Chiefs dynasty is in existence and you have to deal with that within your division until you leave the division. I love that take so much because what if he does become that? And I can't see a path where the Chargers specifically bridge him over to breaking through. Now, if he went to the NFC, now we're talking. Like, let's say he's magically the Cowboys quarterback next year. Then it's a whole different story. I don't see a path for his current contract, his current team, and even where his career trajectory is going, where he breaks through all this talent that's being developed or these dynasties that are in existence during his time. So I just try to wrap that whole story up for you. And I just thought that that was such a great take because every generation's going to have a quarterback where it's like, yeah, he's a great quarterback. He was always a starting quarterback. Even in the later half, it made more sense to have him as your quarterback than not. Russell Wilson broke through twice. But, I mean, that was a hell of a team. That was a Super Bowl team. Justin Herbert might not be able to break through without a Super Bowl team. Joe Burrow broke through with a Super Bowl team. I don't see the path for Justin Herbert to have it, at least not in LA. What do you think?
It's hard because I mean, yeah, you make a good point about who you're competing against. But I think another thing to note too, when you look at all those quarterbacks you just mentioned, Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, one thing those quarterbacks all had in common when they won their Super Bowl, they were either on their rookie deal or they weren't making top of the market money. I think Justin Herbert is the sixth highest paid quarterback, fifth, sixth, seventh, somewhere in that range, but he's making $52 million a year. At $50 plus million a year, you need to be a difference maker. You need to be an MVP type caliber player. You need to be a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, a Joe Burrow, a Patrick Mahomes, even though Patrick Mahomes had a down year. But you need to be that kind of player if you're going to command that much of the salary cap. Because now, financially, I don't know if they'll be able to put a Super Bowl caliber team around him. And that's just, you know, he made through his rookie deal. He's getting paid top dollar now. It's hard. It's hard to do. So yeah, that's why I think, you know, he might just have a Phillip Rivers career. And like again, Phillip Rivers wasn't a terrible quarterback. He was actually a pretty good quarterback and had some really good years, honestly. And that could be Justin Herbert for the next decade. It's a curse that they played for the same franchise, but he could play for the next decade, high level, good quarterback, playoff appearances, and he could end his career with a 5-7 playoff record, just like Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, and I do believe that they were only one Bronco loss away from being that seventh seed, and it's like C.J. Stroud, younger than you, he's ahead of you. Bo Nix on a trajectory to be ahead of you. Remember, the Raiders are about to do a rebuild. They might want to play around in that AFC West division very soon. And don't forget about your dynasty Chiefs. It's just very, very, very tough. With all that said, El Boogie, I don't want to stay too long on it. I just thought that was a hell of a take, and I know we got a hell of a bar and some comments to deal with later. But moving on, El Boogie, the second game of our wild card playoff weekend. Whew. We had I hate it. This was a hate love. I hate it, but I love it. Boogie, we have the Steelers versus the Ravens. The Ravens beat the Steelers 28-14 at home. Beat them in the division. Beat them once in the regular season. Ended up with the tiebreaker. What do you think of the Baltimore Ravens moving on to the next round?
Hey, that was my MVP, Lamar Jackson, doing exactly what he was supposed to do. Derrick Henry doing what he was supposed to do. That's why Baltimore went and got him so he could get 20 carries, 180 yards in January and February. Even without Zay Flowers, that offense didn't really have any struggles until late in the game. They kind of slowed down a little bit, but that offense was firing. Lamar Jackson, we sometimes I feel like we forget how good of a runner he is, at least over the course of this season, where he wasn't really super run heavy. But man, he was elusive. He was picking up good yardage on the run. Um, so yeah, no, I think the game went exactly how I thought it was going to go. I did expect a little bit more kick from Pittsburgh, at least especially on the offensive side of the ball. The second half they picked it up for sure, but that first half they couldn't buy a point. They couldn't buy a first down really. But that second half, Russell Wilson unlocked the deep ball, turned it up a little bit. But yeah, I think it was a good team win for the Ravens. They're gonna have to go to Buffalo, which will be tough, but I felt very good about them. And Steelers, the Steelers have a million questions going into the offseason. Do you keep Mike Tomlin? Do you keep Russell Wilson? Do you keep Justin Fields? Is it time for a rebuild? Do you sell off pieces like a TJ Watt? Or
Ooh, no.
Right, I know, but think about it like this. What are they really set up to win right now? Are they really set up to win and be a contender?
Yeah.
We just saw them. What they lost 5 in a row down the stretch. When
Two
you're
of the
supposed to
best
be playing,
teams in the NFL and a merging Bengals team that decided to be a good
well,
team.
if you can't beat the best teams, then you're not one of the best teams.
Yes.
5 in a row, I'm not
Best teams
I'm not
in the
expecting you to,
NFL.
but 5 in a row.
Every single team that beat them in those last 5 games, including the Bengals, have finished today and last week on a win.
5 weeks ago, they were the number 3 seed in the AFC, and they dropped all the way to 6. And you're supposed to be playing your best football down the stretch,
Yeah.
not your worst.
Mhm.
So I think there's a lot of questions on that team. Like I said, I don't think they should blow it up. Trust me, I don't. But it wouldn't be unreasonable to consider a blow up to kind of reset things.
Look, I'm gonna say it off the bat. Russell Wilson, I'm starting to realize, has never been the problem. Like, Russell Wilson does silly stuff. Russell Wilson has a character, definitely not a problem, but he definitely has a certain character that maybe everybody in the locker room doesn't get along with. Russell Wilson did his job to me this season, and even when you mess up in a couple games, Russell Wilson is still like getting it on target. He does have a sitting in the pocket too long, a scramble issue with the sacks, and that might be due to older age and not being as elusive as he was when he was younger. Do not blow up this team because of Russell Wilson. Bring Russell Wilson back. We saw what happened when oh boy got in the game for one play. Did you see it? Justin Fields got it for
Justin Fields.
But
they put him in for like a design. It was a design QB run, wasn't it?
I thought he threw a pass though. He threw a pass too. I think he almost got.
Did he?
Did he get half of a? It was so bad that when they pulled him off, I was like, yeah, whatever that was about, just stop that shit. Yeah. Russell Wilson's not a bad quarterback in the National Football League. Is he a Super Bowl winning quarterback? No. But is he a quarterback who did take his team to the playoffs? Yes. Did his team go out bad? Yes. Okay, with all that being said, I don't think Russell Wilson is the problem. I think that they still have an offensive coordination issue, whether it's relationship with your receivers, whether it's understanding Najee Harris' best case use or any other running back that you use. I don't think it's the Connor guy. I think it's who's the other rusher?
Jaylen Warren.
Warren, yeah. There's something about the system. I think the Broncos are kind of experienced this on their negative side of their offensive because they're trying to put it all together. Give it time. I don't think Najee Harris is not producing, which he didn't produce in that Steelers. He didn't produce. He didn't. I don't know what the connection is between the O line and the play calling, everything like that. But there's just a strong disconnection. There are still people dropping balls inside of their hands, like to their hands. Again, it's gonna be cold. Football's gonna be played cold. I don't know what the issue is. 7-10 receivers still caught balls in this game. Russell Wilson needs to be put in the best position to get a first down. The reason Russell Wilson, and I see this a lot because I've watched a good amount of Steelers games this year, and I watched a good amount of Broncos game. We're seeing this issue where they're not focused on putting together well put together drives. If you notice the Bills today, every single drive was first down, first down, first down, 5 yards with James Cook, 5 yards with James Cook. If you want to see the Chiefs in the later towards the end of the game, it is perfect drives. I am not seeing perfect drives out of these teams. When you go 3 and out, it is because you had a weak first down, you had a weak second down, and you're forcing a long pass on third down. This is classic. This is basic football. The Broncos and the Steelers, I have noticed, it will be a 2-yard run, a 1-yard run, and a horrible 3rd and 7, or a 3rd and 13, or a 3rd and 10. 3 and out against these all-star, superstar offenses like a Bills, a Chiefs, and I really don't want to put the Chiefs in there this year, but a Bills, a Bengals, a Ravens. You think they're going to play around with you when they know how to drive down the field every single time and you're relying on your red zone defense? There is a strong disconnect with Russell Wilson for those first 3 downs early in games. He's not the problem, though. That was the problem in this game. You do not give these powerful, explosive players, because as soon as the Ravens got the ball, guess what they did? They took their time and they drove and they dominated the run game. And you know what? Let's just start talking about the Ravens. Russell Wilson's not the problem. Mike Tomlin's not the problem. There's an offensive coordination problem. If Mike Tomlin's not calling those offensive plays, which he's not, there's an offensive coordination problem. Now, go ahead. Do you want to put any sauce on that?
It's weird because it's Arthur Smith. He's the offensive coordinator. He was Atlanta's head coach last year, and he was getting so much praise in the middle of the season when Russell Wilson was taking off. But I don't think he's getting enough bad credit for what happened yesterday. Because I kind of agree with you.
3 and out.
He was their offense. The play calling wasn't good. They looked out of rhythm, out of sync. And the annoying part is he's probably going to get a couple head coach interviews this offseason.
Hey.
He's probably going to get a couple interviews, and it's like, why? I don't get it. But anyway, continue what you were saying.
And the Denver Broncos last year, our problem was for the first 2 quarters of games, it would be 3 and out. Russ would get sacked once, and it'd just be the plays, and it's just like, what is the boo? What's this disconnect? I saw the same thing out the Steelers for the past 5 weeks. Why are you not putting your quarterback in the best position? Maybe the players aren't playing that well. Your receivers weren't catching the ball on purpose. Not on purpose, but they were having real issues. I don't know if it was the temperature or what. Anyway, let's talk about greatness. The Ravens, negativity out the way. The Ravens, El Boogie, I predicted it. This game would have went to overtime, 14-14, if Derrick Henry wasn't on the field. I texted El Boogie. I said, the Ravens are going to win this game, and Derrick Henry will be the difference maker. Jesus Christ. Before we even go over Lamar Jackson's stats, which they're not bad at all. They're actually what you want out of your quarterback. He didn't have to do a lot. 26 carries, 186 yards, 7.2 average, 2 touchdowns, 2 breakaway touchdowns. El Boogie, King Derrick Henry is going to make a very deep playoff run this year in the later half in his career, which he looks like he's in his junior year. What do you think about the Ravens completely dominating the run game specifically in this game, and also going nuts on passing, but at least for the first half, dominating the run game?
They're built for it, man. They are built for it. I think that when we saw the Ravens go and get Derrick Henry in the offseason, we were like, whoa, him and Lamar are going to be dangerous.
Here
we are in the playoffs. It was a question mark, but here they are, dangerous. Because Lamar can either juke out 2 of your players and get a first down, or Derrick Henry will run through your whole defense and get a first down. So unless you can somehow scheme and stop both of them from being who they are a very difficult, team to beat.
They're fierce.
And
I
they
just don't.
didn't even have Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers, their number one wide receiver, did not play. So
Mark
that
Andrews.
offense, it was
My bad. Go ahead.
so that offense is missing a leg and still cruised to a victory, in my opinion.
Man, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, that's a hell of a combo. Man, it was amazing. I thought Mark Andrews had more yards, but I guess the 2 receptions he had were real hustle plays. But I just remember like a play he went stupid or he just went nuts. They just dominated. I don't know. One thing I like about the Ravens. Oh my God! Real quick with the Steelers, Patrick Queen's a question mark too. He got ran over. Missed a couple plays, missed a couple flags. I think he had a bad flag. I'm not going to put that on him, but I think I remember a bad flag or something of that nature. Maybe it was a little scrappy. But yeah, Patrick Queen, I was like, whoa, against your old team, bro. It was rough. It was rough. Bro, the Ravens just dominated this game. I'm very excited to see who the Ravens play with next week. That is not set in stone, correct?
No, it is. It's finalized. They are going to Buffalo.
Ooh.
That'll be a game. That'll be a game.
Ooh. I'm very excited to see the Derrick Henry, not even Lamar Jackson. I'm excited to see Derrick Henry versus Josh Allen. Josh Allen didn't have to go too crazy with his legs today. I do believe next week he will put in some deep work with the being 6'8". I see him flying all over the field next week. All right, man, let's move on. Just because, yeah, Ravens domination. Okay, where are we? My bad. I have to keep going back to the itinerary. The Broncos versus the Bills. El Boogie. We could make this one pretty quick, but we're proud Broncos fans, so we might run on a little bit. But this one's a pretty quick one. The Bills Mafia, Bills Stadium, Buffalo, New York, did a very good job of putting away a very young and motivated Denver Broncos team. El Boogie, how you feel about this one? 31-7.
Like I said last week, man, whether we went in there and won or we got blown out, I was proud of this team and proud of the season. Honestly, I'm really proud of how they showed up today. I had honestly, aside from doinking a field goal off the uprights, I had no complaints about the first half.
Man.
None whatsoever. Man, that first drive, Bo Nix just uncorks that deep ball to Troy Flinken for the touchdown. I was like, all right, we have a chance. Unfortunately, those were the only points they scored today, but that showed potential right there. And the fact that in the first half they limited Buffalo to 10 points. Not only that, held them to 10 points in the first half. Buffalo gets the ball in the second half, and they limit them to a field goal. So it's 7-13. You get the ball in the third quarter. They're in that game. They're competing with a top team, and now at one point the game just got away from them. I think they just kind of got. They just were playing a better team and got outclassed. Our secondary got absolutely diced. They got diced. I know
They
our
had to stay on the field the whole game, though. The whole second half, they're on the field.
They did, but even Pat Surtain was getting cooked on for a touchdown. So it was like, all right, I think we just lost today, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that because we're gonna go and we're gonna retool in the offseason and we're gonna come back more experienced and better. But again, we lost big today, but I'm happy with this season. I honestly have no complaint.
Okay, everybody. It looks like the bell was having some technical difficulties. That being myself, of course. All right, El Boogie. Right back to it. So we were finishing up the Bronco takes, man. Amazing season. Bo Nix, the future looks bright. We stand behind Bo Nix. We stand behind Sean Payton for now. I would love to see Cortland Sutton stay. Hopefully they could contractually figure that out. I'm not sure if he's on his last year or anything like that. I'm hoping he doesn't want nothing crazy extension. It's definitely about to probably enter the back half of his career next season. Marvin Mims, we are excited to see you. I do have an issue with you, Vele. The Bills, hey, y'all are in for one next week because I'm not going for you next week. I'm not going for you. You want to finish anything on that game?
I'd like to just add that Sean Payton is a freaking madman. Did you see the fake punt? Oh my God.
That was good timing.
It was no, it was perfect timing. But I'm like, dude, on the road, enemy territory, you go for it. I'm like, this dude is a gambling addict. What the hell? Like,
I,
but
I,
no,
I
it was
wish
cool. It was perfectly timed.
I wish Bo Nix played like somebody who had nothing to lose in the first half. Just because he kind of because they did. The season's over, El Boogie. We gotta let go, baby. We're gonna be back next year, y'all. We're gonna be back. The Broncos gonna be back and better than ever. El Boogie. Moving on to we have our Steelers Ravens. I literally have to keep going back to it. Packers and Eagles. El Boogie. This was a lot of people's upset game. I'm not gonna lie. This was everybody. I heard a lot of people thinking that this was the upset if there is one. A boogie. The Packers kind of got handled. A very beat up Packers got handled by the Eagles. Eagles 22 to Packers 10. What'd you feel about this game?
I mean, Packers they were beat up. They had like three big injuries. I think at one point they only had three wide receivers that were healthy and playing. Um, but I think honestly, it was Philadelphia's defense. Their defense dominated. They didn't stop Josh Jacobs, but they definitely slowed him down. Their secondary got three interceptions out of Jordan Love, who is a bit of a gunslinger, but three interceptions, that's not going to win you a playoff game on the road like that. Um, yeah, I think Philly's defense stepped up. Their offense did just enough. Nothing crazy, nothing big. Jalen Hurts was efficient to start, but then kind of started to look like Jalen Hurts again. Um, but yeah, I think the Eagles are just a better team. Better team, handled business at home. No big surprise, honestly.
The big surprise is that Packers never had a chance in this game. Like you felt it. Three interceptions is crazy out of Jordan Love. I mean, that's just bad luck. I mean, if we're gonna lay into Justin Herbert, we gotta lay into Jordan Love. Like, hey, bro. Now you're missing pieces. It's not too great. It was a very very tough for y'all to get anything. I mean, almost it looked tougher than the Broncos game today as far as getting anything. The Eagles were just a little less explosive on offense than Bills, but whew, I mean, it was just a rough day at the office. I mean, they didn't look like they were prepared for this playoff game. They looked pretty prepared in the past 2 weeks. A lot of people really had this as their upset game. Just didn't play out that way. With that being said, man, shout out to Saquon Barkley, 25 carries, 119 yards, a lot of hustle plays, a lot of broken tackles. Just, if you have bad form, Saquon Barkley is going to expose that. There's a pretty bad arm tackle. Saquon bounced off of it, and they're getting like 8 or 9 extra yards. Just he plays the game right. He plays the position right. Solid dude. I mean, I hope he makes another deep playoff run. I really do want my Detroit Lions. I really do hope that the Detroit Lions come through stronger. But man, they're looking like a force. And Jalen Hurts, hey man, I'm glad that head's feeling okay because them concussions they're starting to rack up on our quarterbacks in the past couple of years. So it seems like he bounced back just fine. Seemed like he didn't have to do too much. Shout out to him and Devontae Smith on this one connection. I was like, yeah, they won this game. There was one, whatever his longest catch of the day was, I was like, they're a step ahead of the Packers, and they're more prepared to make a deep playoff run than a Packers. And, I mean, obviously they're moving on, so.
It does feel really good to see Saquon in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Not something that we have seen much in his career, but seeing him play great, something about it just feels right. It's like in the same vein as Derrick Henry. Like it feels good to see these guys balling out.
Derrick Henry made it to the AFC Championship game, though.
He has. No, I'm not saying he hasn't been there before, but it just feels good.
It feels good. Like when Odell went to LA for his deep playoff run and he just didn't have that same luck with the Giants. It's literally the same team. Not the same quarterback. Did Odell have oh boy?
No, I don't think they overlapped.
No.
I don't think they, or maybe for a year, but not long. Not
Okay.
long.
Yeah, it's
it
very
was Manning for most of it.
It just feels good to see them preparing for deep playoff runs. They still got one more week before deep, that championship game. But hey, El Boogie. Now, this was and this is actively happening right now during the show. This is my only upset team left. Of course, you wanted the Broncos. Not going to happen. Packers, for most people, didn't happen. We got the Washington Commanders up 7-3 against Tampa Bay. Looks like Tampa Bay is making a drive. Oh, never mind. It looks like they're 3rd and 22 at their own 18. Looks like they're about to punt that one. Boogie, how do you see this game finishing out? Jaden Daniels already 9-12, 97 yards, 1 touchdown. Sounds like he had a successful drive. Maybe he had another drive that didn't go too long. It looks like the Commanders might be taking a rookie quarterback to the wild card. Potentially. It's still early in the game. What you thinking?
Nothing has surprised me about the stats. I expected Jaden Daniels to be Jaden Daniels, efficient, couple touchdowns. I don't know if he's ran the ball or not. But I see the Commanders taking this game. It may be a tough one. It may be a shootout. We'll see how the game unfolds, but I think the Commanders are going to win. I think they're the better offense, even though I love Baker. I love Mike Evans. I love Bucky Irving. I love what that team has accomplished this season. I like the Commanders more. And honestly, I want to see one of the rookie quarterbacks make it a little further. So yeah, Jaden Daniels, Rookie of the Year. Why not go to the divisional?
Yeah, CJ Stroud definitely made it to the divisional last year and lost to the Ravens. It was great to see. Like, we were so proud of that team. And I think they lost in a somewhat closer game, not too much of a close game, somewhat closer game. So if Bo Nix went out on a 7-31, I would love to see Jaden Daniels move forward. We'll make this next one really, really quick. We got Vikings and Rams tomorrow. I'm not gonna lie, I got the Vikings passing. I got the Vikings, if the Commanders don't, being the only team to actually escape on the road. God damn it!
Technical difficulties.
I wonder what. Why? It doesn't even make sense why, though.
Oh, the camera. Tragic.
Yeah, I might have to go to no face, no case.
Minnesota. Like the Biden meme.
Connection.
But
go ahead. Yeah, we could just keep going.
But yeah, Minnesota versus LA tomorrow. It depends. It depends which version of Sam Darnold we see tomorrow. Are we gonna see, first, 90% of the season Sam Darnold, or are we gonna see last week Sam Darnold against Detroit? Because my thing is, Detroit's defense made Sam Darnold look like he was seeing ghosts. But I don't think Detroit, with all their injuries, has a great defense. So if a well-coached, average defense can do that to Sam Darnold, I kind of hate to see what the Rams are going to do to Sam Darnold. But I think tomorrow has shootout written all over it. I see both teams scoring 30 points and it being like a 35-32 ball game.
Baby, the internet, and it just started re-recording. Okay, whatever. All right. Your issue is with Sam Darnold. Your issue is with what defense?
I'm just worried what the Rams defense is going to do to Sam Darnold. Because if the Rams defense comes well coached with a good game plan, they're going to throw the right pressure at Sam Darnold to have him have a similar showing as he did against the Lions last week. So if their defense comes to play, get the Rams taking it easy. Actually, I think I have the Rams taking it anyway, but I see it as more of a shootout than anything.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, fair enough. So, I'm gonna let this one play out. I think the Vikings have this one pretty handily. I just think they have a better team. I think the Rams had a better comeback. I think the Rams had a better battle throughout the season with their division. Their division had a battle, and when I mean say battle, I mean battle. But didn't come too close down to the wire. But definitely came down to the last 2 weeks of the season. That doesn't matter. I think the Rams go out tomorrow. I'm really glad Matthew Stafford got his Super Bowl because the window is looking smaller for an extra one. They're not in a rebuild because they have so much great young talent, which could help them propel to a win tomorrow. I just don't see that happening. Okay. Boogie, with all of our technical difficulties, we're going to make this one nice, quick, and easy. How do you feel about our this week, Monday? Is it Monday? Our championship game.
Next Monday.
Next Monday's championship game. Notre Dame taking on Ohio State. In the BCS, no, it's not BCS no more. But in the in the college football national championship game, I have no idea who's sponsoring it. But if you grew up in a certain era, you know exactly what I mean when I say BCS championship game. Boogie, how you feel about the game next week?
I'm excited for the game. I think it's two of the top four college football rosters this season going at it. Um, Honestly, I like Notre Dame a lot. I really do. I think they have not only consistently performed well against the toughest competition, but I think their defense more than anything has really held them into a lot of these games. And unfortunately, I feel like that's the same thing for Ohio State, where they also have a pretty stacked defense that keeps them in games, like we saw against Texas, where their defense was pretty dominant. But I don't know. I think that I'd like to see a shootout. That's what I'd like to see, a high scoring 40 plus game point game for each team. But I think we're going to see a gritty, a really gritty fight. But I do think that Ohio State's offense has the slight edge, and I think that's who's going to end up winning this thing.
I think I know Notre Dame has never been this team for me personally. And what I mean by that is that Notre Dame team that Manti Te'o lost to Alabama in the championship game. That Notre Dame team that always comes in top 25. That Notre Dame team that's always within top 10, and then they either get blown out in their bowl game or, very closer to like, they just don't always finish. In my experience, in my lifetime, I've always experienced like Notre Dame being outside conference team and being independent. They're very picky with the schedule, very picky with their opportunities, and then sometimes they run into the wrong beast. This is not one of those years. This year, I do believe Notre Dame is the prestige that we come into every single season having. I do think that Notre Dame beats Ohio State. I do think Ohio State might be a little bit more explosive. I don't see as much of a gritty game as I see like a 28-26, something crazy like that, something ridiculously close. But I don't see over 30 points for either team. I don't see like that type of shootout, that type of college football ridiculousness. Um, I think Notre Dame has the better team. I think that they're. I don't know. Ohio State has some dogs. Ohio State has that dog play in them, but I do think Notre Dame has that. We can play with that grit too, as you saw them with such a close game against Penn State. Pushed out Georgia. I don't know. I don't know. The strength of schedule to get to where they are now, I like Notre Dame more. That's why I have them over Ohio State. Now, don't get me wrong. Ohio State, since that Michigan loss, we've been on their head thinking like, oh, well, you guys are going to fumble this, fumble this, fumble this. They have pushed through and fought adversity perfectly. Ohio State got some explosiveness, man. Explosiveness, but I just don't see them getting to the quarterback like they did against Texas, especially in a second half situation. So I'm going to go with Notre Dame for the win.
Okay. I think it'll be a good game either way. And I mean, a little fun fact for you: Ohio State won the first college football playoff when they expanded to 4 teams.
No.
So it'd be a little poetic if they won the first time they expanded to 12.
Oh, hey, not too bad. We could give our honorable mentions. How you feel about Texas and Penn State? Because I feel opposites about both of those teams, especially in the semifinal. How do you feel?
Penn State overall really good season. I think some of the coaching decisions down the stretch were very questionable. Especially when your quarterback was not having a good day at the office. But they're a talented team. They're going to be a contender next year for sure. Texas, I have so many issues with Texas. I still do not believe in Quinn Ewers. I don't know what it is, but there's something about him and his inconsistencies. There were some easy throws that he just overthrew when you needed it. He was very deer in headlights. Granted, Ohio State's defense was in his face, but Quinn Ewers, I don't really believe in. I think the play calling for Texas down the stretch was also super questionable. You are first and goal from the 1, and you don't get a touchdown. As a matter of fact, you not only don't get a touchdown, you give up a fumble, and Ohio State scores a touchdown. that's that. It's bad. It's bad look.
I got love
So
for
yeah,
my Quinn Ewers, man. You can see he felt it in his heart when he was on that sideline. So I got love for the dog.
I'm sure he did, but I think now season's over. You've seen what Quinn can do. I think you let Quinn go somewhere else, whether that's to the
Oh,
draft or another school. Yes, I think it is time to let Arch Manning take over the team. I think it's time.
mm.
He's waited 2 years to be a starter now. He's shown potential this year. So imagine a whole offseason of development and let's see what he can do. We've seen what Quinn Ewers can do. I think we have seen the best of Quinn Ewers. I don't see him being any better or any different at Texas for another season. I really don't. But Arch Manning, it's something different. I think he adds another element of mobility to your offense. It's Arch Manning time.
Man, I don't see him getting picked up in the right spot in the NFL, and I don't want a premature career, especially if you got coaches like Sean Payton who are starting to request develop quarterbacks, like quarterbacks who really, really used all their college time to develop. I think you're going to start seeing that trend a lot more, unless they excel way past belief, like a Shador. Um, he's
I
not
mean,
in
he
that
has
position
another
now.
he has another year of eligibility. He can go back to school, and honestly, I think that's what he should do: is go to school for another year, but just transfer somewhere. Go to somewhere where they have a graduating quarterback, like in Oregon, or I'm trying to think who else has a quarterback. Carson Beck already took Miami, so that's kind of already taken.
Carson Beck transferred to
Um,
Miami.
Dude, he declared for the draft, but then like 2 days or a week later, he's like, actually, no, sorry, I'm not declaring for the draft. I'm going to stay in college. And then 2 days later, he's like, I'm going to Miami.
What? So
And the reason why he can do that is say he's going to the draft, but then change his mind is because he did not sign with an agent.
and he just said, "Forget Georgia." Like Georgia's just like what they had beef.
I don't know if Georgia wanted him back after this season. I didn't want. I would if I were a Georgia fan
If you
or a
would have won
Georgia.
that Alabama game, you wanted him back.
No,
Oh,
I think there were. I think this year there were just too many inconsistencies. I need consistent quarterback play to be a contender.
man, he's trying to go be in
And
them streets, boy.
oh no, I think he's trying to cash it in while he can. Because I don't think he has a high ceiling in the NFL. So why not stay in college, get paid as much as you can, and you know it makes sense for him. Personally, I don't disagree with what he's doing. But if I were Georgia, I did not want him back anyway.
Damn, that boy live. All right, well, shout out to Carson Beck. I didn't hear that information. Anyways, my quick take before we get out of here, man. I have Penn State having a great, successful season. I thought you can't ask for more. They lost a very close game. I do think Notre Dame. Real quick with Notre Dame, I also like their head coach. I really want to see that man win. I don't know why I want to see that man win. It's not like a black card thing or anything like that. I just want to see bro win. See, he seems like a pretty solid coach. He seems like a pretty solid person. Very well spoken, very well put together. Put together a hell of a team. It's just good to see people like him in winning positions. And he's young. Is he young or is he just healthy?
Oh no, he's super young. He's like 38.
Okay, I can't tell if he's like young or healthy or just wise. But shout out to
No,
bro.
he's stupid young. Stupid young.
Shout out to bro, man. I just want to see that fellow win. All right. Anyway, back to Penn State. So with Penn State, I just think you guys did everything right this season. You made it somewhere where a lot of people could have made it to where you were, but just because of the grit, the slow pace that you guys play, the playing the game of football correctly. Shout out to Penn State. Texas, on the other hand, you guys are on the opposite end of the spectrum. I am not proud of this season for you guys. I think you guys were all hype all the way up until the point where you guys got to. And I think you guys got exposed, not in the first half, because in the first half, you were trying to prove a point to me and everybody else. In the second half, you proved me right that the moment was too big. The pressure that comes with that ridiculous college football play was just too huge, and they fumbled the bag. And that's just how I feel like Texas is in. And I'm scared to see this out of a lot of SEC schools next year because look at Tennessee, look at Alabama. I think Ole Miss got blown out in their bowl game. No. I think the Ole Miss won. One of these SEC teams got blown out. Of course, you got players declaring for the draft and stuff, but SEC, let's not make this a trend. Let's be the powerhouse of the South. But if you're not taking care of players who are on your bench, hey, they got options and they got a whole lot of them and money on the table. Welcome to the business of college football. It's a new one.
Hey, speaking of money on the table, since Notre Dame doesn't have a conference and they've made it to the championship, they get $20 million just for their school.
Damn.
They get 20 million. Do you know how much money they're about to dump into NIL in the offseason?
About to make a
It's low key a cheat. It's low key a cheat code. Like high. Actually, no, it's high key a cheat code.
Well, just look what happened. Look what happened to the SEC this year. I think that turning college football into a pure business for players to make decisions based off of their financial futures and educational futures as well. It's still a factor. You're gonna see a lot of it more. Like it's gonna be a full fledged business within the next 10 years, which it already has turned into that. But at least the players are receiving the benefits of those rewards. So yeah, I think that about ends us too, El Boogie. So El Boogie, if you could please take us out. Sorry about the bad camera, but El Boogie, come on, bring us home.
Hey, we appreciate y'all tuning in to El Boogie and the Bell. Despite the technical difficulties, we will be back next week better than ever. But make sure y'all check out the full video on YouTube, clips on TikTok. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know where you think we did good. Let me know where you think we're crazy. If we're just talking garbage on the internet, just let us know. But yeah, stay tuned. We might be losing TikTok soon. We'll see if that ban actually happens, but we'll tell y'all how to find us afterwards. But anyway, appreciate y'all once again, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Peace.